In a time long past, when the gods still walked among mortals, there lived a musician of unparalleled skill named Orpheus. His melodies had the power to tame the wildest beasts, coax the trees to dance, and even charm the very stones of the earth. Despite his extraordinary gifts, Orpheus was burdened with a deep sorrow that weighed heavily on his heart. His beloved wife, Eurydice, had been cruelly taken from him, snatched away by the cold hand of fate. It was a day like any other when Eurydice, wandering through a sun-kissed forest, was bitten by a venomous serpent. The poison claimed her life swiftly, leaving Orpheus powerless and filled with sorrow. His music, once filled with joy, became a lament that echoed through the hills and valleys. The world seemed like a darker place without her, and Orpheus found no comfort, no solace in his art. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, a resolve began to form in Orpheus's heart. He would journey to the underworld, the realm of Hades, and attempt to bring Eurydice back. It was a perilous quest, one that no mortal had ever undertaken and survived, but Orpheus's love for Eurydice knew no bounds. He knew the journey would be fraught with danger, but a thought of seeing Eurydice again filled him with a determination that was stronger than any fear. With his lyre slung over his shoulder, Orpheus set out on his journey. He traveled far and wide through shadowed forests and treacherous mountains until he reached the entrance to the underworld. It was a yawning chasm in the earth that exhaled a cold, damp wind. The darkness within seemed impenetrable, but Orpheus did not hesitate. He stepped inside, descending into the abyss. The path was steep and twisted, leading him deeper into the bowels of the earth. As he walked, Orpheus played his lyre, filling the oppressive silence with soothing melodies. In a realm filled with terror where all hope seemed to be lost, the music was his guide, his light in the darkness. It drew the attention of the spirits who dwelled in the underworld. These spirits, lost and long forgotten, were captivated by the beauty of Orpheus's music, and for a brief moment, their eternal suffering was eased, and they followed him, forming a spectral procession that trailed behind him like a ribbon of mist. The river Styx, the boundary between the world, the living and the dead, eventually appeared before Orpheus. The black waters lapped at the shore with an eerie calm, and the ferryman, Charon, stood at the river's edge, his eyes cold and unfeeling. Charon demanded payment for the passage, as was his custom, but Orpheus had no coin to offer. Instead, he played a melody so haunting, so full of longing and despair, that even the stoic ferryman was moved. Charon allowed Orpheus to board his boat, ferrying him across the dark waters without a word. On the other side of the river, Orpheus was met by Cerberus, the three-headed hound of Hades. The creature's growls reverberated throughout the cavern, a sound that could strike terror into the bravest of souls. But Orpheus, unafraid, played his lyre once more. The gentle lullaby that flowed from his strings soothed the beast's savage nature, and Cerberus, his eyes drooping with sleep, lay down at Orpheus's feet, allowing him to pass unchallenged. At long last, Orpheus reached the heart of the underworld, where Hades and his queen, Persephone, sat on their thrones. The air was thick with the weight of countless souls, and the atmosphere was charged with a somber stillness. Orpheus, filled with both trepidation and hope, knew that this was the moment that would decide his fate. He knelt before the gods and began to play. The melody that flowed from Orpheus's lyre was unlike anything he had ever played before. It was a song of love, of loss, and of the desperate yearning to be reunited with a soul lost too soon. The music wove through the air, delicate and ethereal, yet powerful enough to move the hearts of all who heard it. Even the cold and unyielding Hades found himself touched by the beauty of Orpheus's song. Persephone, too, felt the power of his love and the purity of his sorrow. As the song came to an end, the decision was made and the conditions were set. Orpheus was allowed to lead Eurydice back to the world of the living, but he must not look back at her until they had both reached the surface. The journey ahead would test his resolve and his trust in the unseen. Eurydice appeared before Orpheus, a faint, ghostly figure whose presence brought him both joy and pain. Together, they began the long ascent, leaving the dark, oppressive layer of the underworld far behind them. The journey back to the surface was fraught with tension. Orpheus could hear Eurydice's soft footsteps behind him, but he could not see her. The urge to look back to reassure himself that she was truly there grew with every step. Doubts gnawed at his mind. What if she wasn't following him? What if it was all a cruel trick? The weight of uncertainty pressed down upon him, but he forced himself to continue, trusting in her presence behind him. The light of the living world began to filter through the darkness, a warm and welcoming glow that promised safety and reunion. Orpheus could feel the warmth on his skin, a stark contrast to the cold of the underworld. They were so close. Just a few more steps and they would be free. But as the light grew brighter, so did the weight of his fear. In a moment of weakness, driven by love and desperation, Orpheus gave in. He turned around. For the shortest moment, he saw her. Eurydice, beautiful and radiant and alive, her eyes filled with love and trust. But as their eyes met, a terrible force pulled her back into the shadows, her form fading into the darkness of the underworld once more. She was gone, lost to him forever. Orpheus was left, standing at the threshold of the living world, his heart shattered. He had come so far, faced unimaginable dangers, all for the chance to be with his beloved again. And now, in the blink of an eye, she was lost to him forever. Yet as he stood there, the warmth of the sun on his face, a strange peace settled over him. He had been given the gift of seeing his love one last time, and in that fleeting moment, he knew that their love would endure, even in the face of death. With a heavy heart, Orpheus returned to the world of the living. He continued to play his lyre, his music now infused with the bittersweet memory of a lost love. The melodies he played were a testament to the power of love, a soothing balm for all those who heard them. As the sun set over the hills, Orpheus's music filled the air, a gentle reminder that even in the darkest of times, love endures, echoing through the ages like the soft, comforting notes of a lullaby.